Obviously, the draft happened about a month ago. Now's the time you start thinking about, some storylines moving forward. But really, we're all just in such a holding pattern right now. You have to talk about things like, well, 6 teams have unveiled new uniforms. I guess that's kind of where we are. Have any of them stuck out to you? I know the Rams was the most recent one. Have any of them stuck out to you, good, bad, or otherwise?
Yeah, I just like the Rams color. I like that color. It's a nice little color. It's a California color. It's nice. I always did like even when Bussy was at the Rams before he came to Pittsburgh, I always did like that old throwback yellow and blue color. So I always been a Rams fan when it came down to jerseys.
What about the road bone jerseys? It's not a white, it's a bone. They're trying to go with like the color of the Rams horn. That didn't work for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on your flavor. That's all, on what you like. I know it take a while because, people are so used to and accustomed of just the jerseys that's been around for so long. It takes a while for people just to think outside the box and get adjusted to these new uniforms.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And as we kind of look forward here, of course, we're here in Kansas City, Ike, where the Kansas City Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions going into this year. They're able to retain Sammy Watkins, able to retain Bashaud Breeland, although could be in some legal hot water. Chris Jones is still a part of the team as of now. So when you look at what the Chiefs have done going back into this year now, obviously the Ravens still right there. Where do you see the Chiefs heading into 2020? Is this still the team to beat, and not only in the AFC but in the NFL as the defending champions?
Yeah, everything got to go through Kansas City, and the reason why everything got to go through Kansas City is because Patrick Mahomes. When you got a kid that young, that confident, and you have a old seasoned veteran coach in Andy Reid, and of course, everybody who played for Andy Reid look at Andy Reid like dad. And Andy Reid don't mind, just not going outside the box, but giving people second and third chances. If you just hear the stories on teams who wouldn't take guys or draft guys because of their past, they don't say that about Andy Reid. They say Andy Reid is a loving person. So he just got a good heart. But for him to have a guy like Patrick Mahomes and just sit on the sideline, and you can see in games where Patrick Mahomes is kind of telling Andy Reid what he sees on the field, I think we should adjust this way. That's a lot of confidence in a young kid. So defensive-wise, they wind up getting turnovers. Of course, they had a new defensive coordinator, so it just took a while. They wind up getting Honey Badger, and we all know what Honey Badger can do. He's good around that line of scrimmage, and he don't mind taking chances and making plays on that back end. So he's kind of like the heart and soul from the linebackers all the way to the secondary. They drafted some more good defensive linemen. Like, I like the draft they had. So got another running back. So they understood, and he understands, we can rely on Patrick Mahomes during the season, but when it comes down to the playoffs, we got to play good defense and running the ball.
Well, just to expound on Patrick Mahomes, I mean, a lot of people are already talking about, he could potentially be the GOAT, better than Tom Brady, the best ever to do it. Where do you see Patrick Mahomes right now? He's only going into his third year, starting his fourth year in the league, among the likes of Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, John Elway, Peyton Manning, guys that have done it, and we've seen him throughout a whole career. And I know it's only Patrick Mahomes' third year starting, but what would you say about his game and his potential moving forward?
I love his game. I love watching him. You can just tell he's just a good, genuine dude. That's why guys like playing with him. He's not about himself. He's a Steeler. He's a we guy. What we doing? So he don't mind taking chances. So he don't point the finger when things go wrong. He takes all the blame, even if it's not on him. And guys respect that. They respect that at a young age. He's doing this at a young age. Being a GOAT, it's hard to be the GOAT. You got to be consistent. Think about it. Drew Brees ain't been to the Super Bowl since when? Aaron Rodgers ain't been to the Super Bowl since when? So we talking about 2009, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So ain't nothing guaranteed in this league. When it want to come down to talent, making exotic throws, that's Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers has been doing it for a long time. But at the same time, to say he's a GOAT or could be, I could never say that because time will tell. I just know it's not easy going back. And I just named 2 Hall of Famers who haven't been back between 10 and 12 years to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, speaking of your former teammate, Ben Roethlisberger, is in a little bit of hot water this week because he went to the barbershop and got a haircut. So that's kind of where we are in the realm of NFL news. Ben Roethlisberger goes and gets a haircut, and the mayor of Pennsylvania calls him out on it. Just talk about Ben and kind of what you think his motivation is for continuing to come back. I mean, for so many years, he would kind of end seasons injured and beat up, and the rumors would fly this would be it. He keeps coming back, even though the Steelers are kind of still in a rebuild mode. What is the motivation for Ben to keep doing this?
Ben is very competitive. You play Ben in golf, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in one-on-one around the world on the basketball court, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in pool, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in ping pong, he gonna smoke you. He just so happened to be a future Hall of Famer for football. Seven is always motivated. You know, that's just how Seven wake up. You know, Seven is he's stubborn. He's a good stubborn. He knows what it takes. So the only thing Seven got to do is stay healthy. So I think Pittsburgh going back, and they know Seven is getting up there in age. They're going back to how they won with Seven when he was young. You know, and I said this earlier today, like they relied on Seven from the time I think year 7 to about 2 years ago. Now we got to go back to how we won with Seven, which was a good running game, 2 tight ends with Heath Miller and company, and a good defense. And now you saw what the defense did last year, a younger defense. It's reminding you of the defense of old with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, what else we do? We get us a few good running backs, get us some young, talented receivers, and we already got a good defense. It's going to take a few games where Seven got to win with his arm. 3 or 4 games where Seven got to go throw for 300-plus yards. It's going to take a few of them. But by the end of the day, we're thinking playoffs. And by the end of the day, we're seeing what quarterbacks done and do and how things are worked. Regular season, we rely on the quarterbacks. Playoffs, we rely on the running game and a good defense. Maybe have to do a drive or two if it gets down to it in the playoffs, but that's just how it goes. If you just watch teams who make it to the playoff, you know, and get in the playoffs, they have good defenses and a hell of a running game.
Absolutely, and that'll be interesting to see moving forward this season. But I want to ask you about 2 of your former teammates, Antonio Brown. We know all the stories that happened with him, and if you think he's going to be reinstated and he'll play football again in the National Football League. And then Le'Veon Bell, it just doesn't feel right with the Jets. Adam Gase has come out and said he didn't really want him there. And how did that just not work out with the Steelers? Such a great running back, not to take anything away from James Conner. He's doing his thing there in Pittsburgh as well. But Le'Veon Bell, it just seems like he was such a dynamic running back, whether it's running or catching. I mean, almost a LaDainian Tomlinson type. And how did that not work out in Pittsburgh?
I think the last straw with Le'Veon was when his teammates was talking about his money. And it's a golden rule in the NFL. You never talk about a man's money when it comes to contract situations because you never know their situation financially and what they're trying to do. So I think that broke the camel's back when a few of his teammates got to talking about his money because he looking like, man, when y'all contract was up, I'm on board with y'all. Don't forget, it's us versus the front office in this franchise when it come down to money. So I think that hurt Le'Veon. If nobody said nothing about his contract, Le'Veon would have been a Pittsburgh Steeler. I believe that in my heart. But that's a golden rule when you're a former or active athlete, professional athlete. You never talk about somebody else's money. You know, you're going to always want the best for that person. And when a few of his teammates came out and was talking about his contract situation, I think that hurt him dearly.
Well, let's talk about a team that's certainly a former rivalry for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Baltimore Ravens, of course, are in a great spot right now. They're in the AFC. Lamar Jackson comes out, has an MVP type season. They had some really key components, had a tremendous draft, at least from my perspective, coming in here. You talked about everything running through Kansas City. Where is Baltimore in all of this? And what do you think that it's going to take for Lamar Jackson, for that perception of him to sort of reach that Patrick Mahomes level because he had such a tremendous season? Where are the Ravens in all of this? And how do you feel about Lamar Jackson going forward? He's
special. He's a different special. Patrick can't do what Lamar do. Lamar can't do what Patrick do. That's what makes them two young guys so unique. So it's a different kind of offense. They're asking the quarterback to do different things. For the Ravens and company, it's more on coming from behind, which was something they wasn't used to, because they're always up on games. So it's different when you call it up and you got a good defense and you really rely on your running game. For Lamar Jackson, it's going to be fine-tuning and just reading his reads. Don't forget, this like the first year where they really got a solid year together and understanding and knowing what Lamar can do on the offensive side. This is coming in year 2 now. So I think the offense, when it comes down to it, they'll rely more on Lamar Jackson to pass the ball. Last year, they led the league in rushing with Lamar and Mark Ingram, and that's how it should be, with a solid, good defense. But it's two different kind of quarterbacks when you want to talk about Pat and Lamar. I'm not asking for Patrick Mahomes to rush for over 1,000 yards, But I know when it comes down to current situations, I'm going to ask him to pass it on the drive. The read options, which they did very well for the Baltimore Ravens, getting another young running back from Ohio State to go with Mark Ingram, they still going to rely on the running game. So they know what they're doing. I think this their second year. You will see Lamar Jackson pass it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to ask you about James Harrison. It came out this week. He did an interview and talked about how he received money after a hit. Well, he didn't say money. He said he received an envelope from Mike Tomlin after a hit against the Browns, Muhammad Massaquoi. And a lot of people came out and like, oh, Bountygate. This is Bountygate. He was paying for the hit. Like, no, it comes out. He said it wasn't bounty. And so people are speculating it might have been he was paying for the fine. They thought it was a legal hit. They didn't think he should have to pay the fine. So what do you know about Mike Tomlin, and what are your just thoughts on that situation and what James Harrison had to say?
The man said he got an envelope. He ain't said what was in it. So like you just say, speculation, we just blew it all out of proportion, the media. And it's just like old saying, man, now you putting words in my mouth. If somebody would have asked him what was in the envelope, I'm sure he would have told him. But at the same time, speculation is hard. This generation, everybody want to be first to say it and not have facts. So you just got to understand, put yourself in that player's shoes. What was in the envelope, I don't know. I'm sure James Harrison, a.k.a. Debo, he won't tell you either. But at the same time, man, it's just going in that locker room, if we did know, we'll never say. That's how we stuck together. That's why I was so close-knit. But I don't know what was in that envelope. I never asked. Ain't none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ike, obviously, you spend your entire 12-year career in Pittsburgh, playing with just Hall of Fame teammates. You win a Super Bowl. Just kind of talk about that in today's era of free agency and players on the move. I mean, the NFL has long been that way, regardless of era. But you were able to spend your entire career there. Just talk about that, what that kind of means to you, and what the Steelers organization means to you. Playing for Mike Tomlin, winning that Super Bowl, and Mike Tomlin still trying to get it going today, and hopefully at some point, he's able to win a second one.
Yeah, it's everything, and it starts with Papa Rooney. Me and Papa Rooney had Dan Rooney, that is, R.I.P. We had a great relationship. We had a little different relationship. I can go talk to Papa Rooney about anything. Front office, Kevin Colbert and company, knowing how to draft year in, year out, just to be contenders, going to the playoffs, trying to get to the Super Bowl. Coaching staff. So, I feel like I played with 2 Hall of Fame coaches. I already played with Hall of Fame coaches. Coach LeBeau, one of the old Hogs, Coach Russ Grimm. My other offensive line coach, I didn't play with 4 Hall of Fame coaches, including and the Hall of Fame owner. So I was just very fortunate. I think when Coach Tomlin retires, he's going to be another Hall of Fame coach. Coach Cowell, he got into the Hall of Fame this year. Congrats on that. So I was just very fortunate. And when I'm saying Hall of Fame, I'm saying consistency. One thing I do know about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't let the outside media dictate what they're doing. They stick to what they've been doing to be successful, and they just going to ride with it. It's the reason why you go on the South Side and you see them 6 trophies sitting on the second floor, So that's one thing I like, man. They always dictate. They don't let the outside dictate on what they need to do. They always stick to the script, and that's usually sticking to their draft picks. If they draft you, you're a Steeler for life unless you do something crazy off the field, So it's just been consistent, a consistent foundation, and it all started with the Rooney family, and you're gonna go through some years. It's crazy. Pittsburgh ain't been to the Super Bowl in a while, but they always been consistent on at least having a chance to get into the playoffs. So time will tell. But at the same time, just me being a Pittsburgh Steeler, being in that 412 area code, going through that Fort Pitt tunnel, when you win Super Bowls, you're on scholarship for life. And that's how I feel. Every time I go back to Pittsburgh, it's all love. It's all love. So, I've learned a lot. We still in the 17. I got 2 groups. I got 2005 Super Bowl group with 17 guys. I got a 2008 Super Bowl group with 17 guys. I got to keep a charge on me at all times because we're always talking to each other. So it's just it's cool when my son can call Troy uncle. It's cool when Troy's sons can call me uncle. Ryan Clark, C. Hope. I can go down the list. So everybody who was having kids at the time, now they're called uncles. So just seeing Jay, Ryan Clark's son, go to Arizona State, watch the kid. He's playing corner now. Watch the kid from a young boy. Just seeing Tyrone Carter's son grow up, seeing daughters grow up, man, it's a beautiful thing to see. And we still family. I don't think, with this generation, we wanted to be with each other for so long. We took less money. But one thing we knew in Pittsburgh, you was going to see your whole contract. And if you went and got money, chase money from somewhere else, if you had to, you probably was going to go to an okay team. In a couple of years, you're going to wind up being a salary cap casualty, So we knew the business side of that. And somebody had to offer a lot for one of us to go. But Troy and I kind of made a deal together. We came in together. We was going to go out together. And that's how it worked out. You couldn't script it.
Well, you mentioned that you have a 2005 group chat from that year in Super Bowl, and I wanted to ask you about the backup quarterback, Charlie Batch. I feel like he was an underrated quarterback, and he won you guys a few games down the stretch that allowed you guys to get in the playoffs and make that Super Bowl run. So talk to us a little about Charlie Batch.
C. Batch, which he's a Yinzer, meaning he's a Pittsburgher. C. Batch, when you got a starting quarterback who runs the scout team, who's going against the defense, we ain't had no other choice but to be better. We ain't had no other choice. And no disrespect to Mason Rudolph, but if Mason is running the scout team, it's going to be years for him to make us better. But Sebastian has so many games, so much experience in Detroit. Man, when he ran that scout team against our first team defense, it was like going in the game. You had to be on your A game. So when we got in the game, it's like I got somebody who's backing up Big Ben. Then we have Byron Leftwich. Like, you got these backup guys who were successful in the league. Now they throwing the ball like you can't fool them. In practice, there is no way you can fool them. So I was so fortunate enough to have backups who was once starters in the league and able to help us, and just for us to be on our A game, especially in that secondary. Sit down and talk to them and ask them in practice, hey, C-Bass, what you saw me do? Or why did you throw the ball this way? Or what you looking at in this coverage? Or Byron Leftwich, what you saw me do? Why did you throw the ball this way? What you looking at this coverage? Man, to sit down and have all that knowledge coming from guys who've been first rounders in the league or backups on your team, that's a lot of growth, maturity, and we ain't have no other choice but to be good on defense.
Well, like I tell you what, before we let you go, obviously we're in a holding pattern right now. We don't know what things are going to be. In fact, just about an hour ago, the NCAA voted and has decided that players can start returning to work out as of, I believe, June 1st. So we don't know what this is going to look like. If you had to predict, if you had to bring out your crystal ball there, what is football going to look like this year? And as a player, would you even want to entertain the notion of playing with no fans in the stands and Madden-like generated digital fans in there? Would you even? How would you even feel about that?
I mean, once you strap up and get on the field, it's your reputation.
Yeah.
So regardless on what the fans make football. The fans make every sport, man. Like it's a different feel. It's a different feel when you just playing, but at the same time, when you got fans it's a whole different feel when fans are there. They're one of the reasons why. But at the same time, safety always come first. So I think it's going to be what the mayor, what the governor feels in each state on what they want to do, and the NFL just got to dictate. I know some states talking about having a few fans in stadiums. Some states talking about going virtual. So I'm guessing between the two options, they'll dictate and see how that season feel and during this pandemic, what we should do. At the same time, like I say, safety is always first, but man, once you strap up, fellas, Clint, once you strap up, man, there is no, whether the fans in the stadium or not, your tape is your resume.
That's so well said, Ike. We always appreciate the insight. You're one of the best in the business, my friend. Definitely miss seeing you on NFL Network. You were tremendous on there. Love the work, man. You're always great. Hey, great stuff. Thanks so much, my friend. Well, hopefully we get things back to normal, and we'll try to ease that way as quick as possible, my man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, appreciate me having you on the show. Y'all boys stay safe.
You bet,
You
Ike.
too.
Thanks
It was
a
an
lot.
honor. Thanks.
All right, thank you.